Hello there, welcome. This is a summary of the last Apple Manager 23 stream. It was very informative, so it's going to be fairly long. You should watch the stream itself, but let's jump straight into it with a summary of what you can expect.
We've looked at the visual changes, the home screen, the emails, the training, the pit crew, the new additions to the staff, driver training, driver confidence, ERS system, tyre management, new weather system, how the AI uses more width of the track, collisions, how you've simmed the visors, the cameras, the artwork, race replay, race moments, scenarios exclusive. And I've still got stuff, and I can't talk about it, and I'm going to get in trouble. We're going to start with my favourite area when I come to work, which is emails. I guess when everyone opens up their box, you've got your emails, and it's actually a really, really important part for any team principal to look into. A lot of information's given here. So do you want to give us an overview and as to what's new and what's changed?
Sure. So, I mean, the inbox is a really crucial part of inhabiting that role of the team principal. Mm-hmm. You know, you've got your team feeding back to you. You've got, about those elements of the different elements of the team that I was referring to earlier. And, reporting back on things like car performance, how your drivers are developing, testing periods that you need to take advantage of. And then you can hyperlink to the different areas of the team and get stuck in with the management. So this year we've made improvements to the inbox. So what we'll find is that there's more kind of what we call dilemma emails. Kind of
they sound fun.
Yeah. It's how we refer to them. They're basically curveballs, things that happen throughout the course of the season that are unexpected. Yep. They'll be different on every season, and they usually force you to make a decision about something. Yep. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to, car part development has stalled. Are you going to pay some extra money to kind of unblock that issue, or are you going to let it ride it out? There might be some things that you can't actually combat, but you have to kind of deal with and take into account. So it's all part of making the average season kind of play out in a more unpredictable way than before.
I'm not sure we've got examples of these emails to show, because we're some in here. I think maybe producer Adam's got a few on there. He can chuck up just to give an example of what some of these might look like in terms of the dilemma as you refer to.
Yeah, so what we've got here, they've also got a number of kind of world-building emails beyond this. So we have these emails where you'll actually start to see what the other teams are doing as well. So these aren't kind of decision-making ones, but they're really informative emails where you sort of learn a little bit about what the other team principals that you're competing against are doing, But we've also added some elements, of course, to this for this year. One thing we're really happy about is the durability elements of parts now.
Explain that to me, because that's quite important actually, isn't it, for players?
Yeah, so durability is a new attribute that all car parts have. And the point here, as you can see, it's kind of measured in a minimum lifespan estimate of how many kind of kilometres this part is going to last before your team says, okay, it's going to fail the inspections. So, basically after every race, your team will send you an email back to the email system that says, look, these parts have failed inspection, these ones are fine to take to the next race weekend. And if they fail inspection, then you have to manufacture new ones. So, of course, if you create parts with like a low durability, you're going to fail inspection more often. You have to manufacture more parts. It's going to hurt your budget and your cost cap,
which is all simulated in the
Absolutely. Breach the cost cap, you'll get fines. But of course, you'll get more performance. So the idea here is lower durability parts have got a lighter and will give you better performance gains. More heavier durability parts last longer, less performance. So it's all about those trade-offs. There's a lot more finally this time. So, last year you'd find that, adding focus did cost a bit more money and time, but it was perhaps disproportionately impactful. Mm-hmm. Now there's a much more dramatic and pronounced trade-off. So if you are trying to excel in certain areas, you will decrease in other areas. So
that's the sporting director.
Yep.
This is the person who's responsible for everything to do with your trackside operations, as it mentions there. So things like pit crew, pit stop performance, and the relationship there is with obviously you can see with the pit crew. And what that means is all of these various ratings here have impacts on your pit crew, whether that be down to the time lost during a pit stop with mistake, or whether that be down to the maximum skill ceiling for your pit crew. So obviously what you choose to focus on here in terms of development will impact the pit crew themselves, and the pit crew development system in total has had a bit of a rework.
Bit of a rework,
to put it mildly. So this is where you can really dig down into the details of your pit crew training, whether that's focusing on reducing pit stop errors, whether it be improving your pit stop times. And when you do that, you can actually then go even further into looking into things like focusing on the jacks, for example, or things like the wheel guns. So if you find that your pit crew is having a lot of issues with a particular area, you can really get them to focus on that. You can see the race weekends here, so you've got to allow obviously a little bit of rest time.
Because they will get tired, right?
Yeah,
so again,
absolutely.
You can't just make them go maximum effort all the time.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can.
Well, you can, yeah, you can.
It's not advisable, you know. But what you'll see now is you'll see those pit stop mistakes much more clearly. So in this clip here, Bottas comes in, swaps the wheels over, and then, oh no, there's going to be an issue there with getting the wheel nut back on.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not new to Valtteri Bottas, issues with the wheel nuts during pit stops. But this is
Follows
where...
him around that mistake.
it kind of does, doesn't it? Yeah. So this is where your pit stop training comes into effect. So after every race, as I believe Andy mentioned, you'll get a report that shows you a breakdown of your pits and how much time you might have lost. And it's down to you whether you then want to focus on fixing those mistakes or whether you maybe want to just improve pit stop times overall, or even go back and revisit your sporting director and just sort of say, you know, maybe focus on areas that mean if they make mistakes, they don't lose as much time. So, you know, there's lots of different ways you can approach that.
But development, we wanted to have another look at how your drivers develop. So last year, we sort of, you know, it was a little bit less authentic than we would have liked, really, the development side. So now what you do is you effectively give your driver a development focus, and you kind of tell them what kind of skills you want them to improve on, whether you want to improve those skills that are beneficial for, you know, wet weather racing, wheel-to-wheel racing, which is a big thing this year.
Yeah, we'll show you this later on, which is really cool.
This year, short run pace, long run pace. And they'll effectively work in the simulator with the race engineer and in the practice sessions to find home those skills over others, which means that they develop in a more kind of organic way. So you'll get a development update at the end of every month or so. It tells you, well, this is how your drivers have developed over time. So it's just a more authentic, more a natural way for them to develop.
But it's also, again, you've also looked at what happens when drivers, you know, get a little bit older, and how their skills may plateau.
Yeah, absolutely. So the development rate will kind of plateau, and they'll sort of, you know, they won't really increase very much after a certain point. But now we've gone a step further. So as a hotly requested feature was to have drivers that actually drop off if they're not, you know, on top form. So, you know, if you have an older driver and they're not delivering on the track, then they can actually regress in some of their ratings.
These guys are very important in helping your drivers' morale and confidence and things like that, so it all links together.
That Affinity is also something we rebalanced
So you've
as well.
simulated this in here, right?
The driver engineer Affinity, we felt that was something that we wanted to kind of press home more. So that has more impact on something, again, we'll talk about later, which is driver confidence going into the race weekend. And then he's immediately got a better bond with him, and he's going to develop better as a driver and have higher confidence going into the weekends.
Okay. Talk us through team switching and when we could expect to see it.
Sure. So team switching is coming to F1 Manager 23 in the autumn, post release. And team switching at the end of the season, effectively, your team will say, look, here are our goals for the upcoming season. And you can make a call whether to stay with that team and you know, build your legacy, your reputation at that team, or see who else is interested in taking you on board. So what keys into this is your team principal rating. You'll have it gives you a sense of your stock as a team principal in the world of F1. If you're overachieving with your current team, then the teams are higher up, like, you know, finishing higher up in the constructor standings, have a greater prestige historically. They may offer you a position as team principal at their constructors. If you're not doing too well, or if you get sacked, you may have to leave. I think we're going to look at the tactics here.
Sorry,
so
tactics first, and then
So we built a new tactics area that kind of consolidates some of the tactics that are available in 22, but also adds some key new areas. So you can see a big driver confidence bar up there. That's a really key addition. We also got specific overtaking and defending tactics. Now this is all part of our renewed focus on battling. Battling around corners, cars making more use of the track with corner collisions. We'll show more of this shortly. But the tactics allow you to kind of tell your driver how risky to be in these different situations. If you're in a battle, are you going to go full risk for the overtake or to defend position, or are you going to let things slide? Your confidence is high, you can go risky with decisions. Your chance of making a mistake is going to be lower, your performance level is going to be higher, you're overperforming, if you like, and that's the time to really strike when the irons are hot and go for those risky moves. If your confidence is low, you really need to be careful about telling your driver to do that because it could have
low confidence, high risk is never a great combination.
There we go, yeah. We've added carcass temperatures this time, so this is kind of, if you like, the core temperatures, and this is the one that really affects the performance of the tyre. So as you can see here, you've got a generally underheated tyre, and that means that your grip levels are going to be lower, your times are going to be slower. So when you come out of the pits, this is probably what you're going to see, and you might want to get heat into those tyres. But of course, getting them into the optimal window is part of the challenge. But then if you go over that and you start overheating, your degradation is going to start going off a cliff. So you can't do what you may have done last year, which is like go full attack for a whole stint. ERS, so there's a few more ERS tactics available this year as well. For people who know the game from last year, there's now a cool top-up feature to help you charge, but not affect your performance as much as Harvest. And then you've got an ERS Battle Assist, which is where you might want to use it here, but you've got these cool battles around corners. You see a lot more of that this year, much more dynamic racing, and that's where you want to be using a Battle Assist. That's where you can see your confidence going up if you've made the overtake, and The
AI will be acting to your choices. What can we expect them to be doing?
So essentially, they're reacting to what you do and utilising what they have at their disposal. As you saw on the clip there, they're running side by side, so they're not going to give up a battle easily. Right? They're going to utilise their ERS and their fuel levels and their different pace modes to really fight you through multiple corners, bring the battle to you, and make sure that they try and keep that position. But on top of that, it also comes right back to the very high level where you set your strategy levels, because those AI teams will not just be sitting back and watching the race unfold, they'll be reacting to everything that happens. So, if the weather changes, if there's a safety car, or if they find out there's a better tactic available for their tyre changes, if they want to go for an undercut or overcut, they're going to try and do that. It won't always be successful for them, as I'm sure we've seen in real world F1 plenty of times, but yeah, they will constantly reassess what's best for them and make use of everything at their disposal.
What are we looking at here?
Yeah, so obviously crashes can occur in Formula One, as you can see there. So there's multiple things that have gone into this. So as I mentioned previously, you've got your side-by-side action as you go through corners. And what we've done is we've revisited the race sim in multiple areas to improve not only the side-by-side action, but also things like your racing lines based on the pace you're travelling at. You've got cars heading towards a corner. Side by side will now brake much later if they're trying to go for a really aggressive undertake on that corner. You've got things like the recoveries from incidents now, much smoother, much better overall. So you'll see that, and you'll also see tweaks to how the cars take damage in certain areas and things like that. So that goes hand in hand with the car improvements, which is really nice to see. And also there's many little things that go into this, such as DRS overtakes on straights have been improved. The cars are a bit less snappy in how they defend and go for overtakes now. And the race sim team have done a fantastic job on just making all these little improvements all the way across the simulation. And
the races feel much more dynamic now.
Absolutely,
all these things really add to make the game more dynamic. And the AI, the AI was a big community request, wasn't it?
It was, yes.
Like bolstering the AI. And they really do, you can see that they...
Careful what you wish for, all right?
Yeah, exactly. They really push to chase you down, and they use their resources much more wisely now.
Improved the weather system prediction system, so that's even more sort of detailed, and I know how much time went into this, and I feel really bad for not giving you time to talk about it, but that's also been improved, which again plays into the whole tactics about what you're doing on the day, and keeping an eye on this sort of stuff.
Team radio is effectively your two race engineers and your two drivers talking on the radio using real world samples taken from races and real life practice and quali sessions. So people loved this last year. We loved it. It really gave you that sense of being immersed in the action, being behind the pit wall. So we, like you say, we doubled down on it. We got another year worth of kind of harvesting of new up-to-date team radio samples, and we've got about 3 to 4 times as much as we had last time.
Some more then.
Yeah. So the variety is much greater. There's less repetition than we would have seen last time around, or would have heard last time around, and there's more specificity. So there's cool, with the pit stops. Your engineer might tell you who you're going to be battling when you come out of the pit lane. You get updates on who's behind you, who's in front of you throughout the race. You get told when you're going into the optimal temperature window. Things that reinforce the new mechanics as well. So it's a really immersive system. We're happy to keep building on it, keep building out that immersion, and it's super
But
fun.
I'm right, so you also get audio in the replays as well, right, for other teams. So you'll hear what's going through some of the replays. You'll get some of their chatter, right? So you'll hear what they're saying.
So it's conspicuous really that you tend to hear obviously your own racing engineers and drivers in a race, but now if you watch the replays of some of the other drivers having accidents, then you'll occasionally hear some spicy comms from them as they spin out or what have you. So just again builds that flavour of the competitors who you're out there on track with. And
the circuits, because you've been working on those as well. There's been some changes there, some additions. Do you want to talk me through, I can start with Qatar, shall we?
Let's start with Qatar. So yes, 2 brand new tracks. We're going to have a look at Qatar here. So this is new for F1 Manager. And yeah, really excited to have this in. Beautiful looking track, lovely trackside decoration on it. And it's all new for 23. And we have another track new this year, a little place called Las Vegas.
So updated tracks as well, and you've looked at different zones. And talk us through some of the changes you've made. I mean, there's DRS changes, right? You've put those in where you can, because obviously we talked about crystal balls.
Some late DRS changes sometimes, but exactly. We've had another look at Silverstone, so bolstering tracks that we wanted to revisit and touch up. Barcelona has had some circuit changes as well this year.
So, Laurie, I mean, you've got. Can you tell us through? I've got 2 notes here, but you might have more. But tell us through some of the changes that have happened.
Yeah, so as we mentioned, DRS activation and overall zones have been changed, but we've also got the more substantial circuit changes, like at Barcelona, as we saw. That last little chicane's been removed, so the cars will now go around that long sweeping turn. That's reflected in the game, and I believe the other one is Marina Bay.
We've also got updated maps. So you see the little mini map here. We've actually got the DRS zones now highlighted. The DRS activation zones. We saw at the weekend at Austria how important DRS activation zones can be when you're trying to get that overtake sorted. And the 3D maps are updated to a new style. It's more in keeping with the current sort of F1 TV style of map, and full colour. DRS zones, activation zones. Nice little touch, but really important for managers to see that. There are 6 sprint events in the 2023 season. These follow the original sprint format. And they're interesting from a gameplay perspective because you have less practice time than in normal race weekends. So they mess with the structure a little bit. And that means in F1 Manager 23, you get slightly less time to build confidence. So you're going into the sprint, confidence might not be what it normally is. So you need to try and maximize those practice sessions. And again, some of the gameplay elements we've added this year, tire temperatures, new ERS modes, new tactics, the confidence system, of course, they're more geared towards those moment-to-moment decisions, and managing those battles, those tight battles. Because of course, sprint events are less about tyre strategy. It's more about how do you manage your risk levels in the race? How do you manage your position? And come home with the best position that you can.
So Midsession saves, something we've implemented. A big part of player feedback was that people don't always necessarily have time to sit through a full Grand Prix. We've also updated things like the tutorial. So again, we're aware that players don't necessarily want to sit through the full tutorial if they're not new to the game. So if you're coming back from F1 Manager 22, you can select the experience returning manager, I think it's called, option, and that will just basically give you an overview of the new features or anything we've substantially changed.
Race replay, brand new mode for 2023. This is a mode that allows you to get closer to the 2023 season than ever before. We kind of want it to be part of players, of F1 fans' annual kind of engagement with the sport. So in the mode, you can choose one of the Grand Prix that took place in 2023, and we authentically replicate the starting grid of that race. So there's one angle to it, which is starting grid, and there you take position on the grid, and we realistically simulate obviously the starting grid, the weather, the ambient temperatures, the car performance, basically how many tyres are allocated for each team, everything. So basically to give you the most realistic jumping off point to build your own story from that race. So you can choose one of the 10 teams for every Grand Prix and see how you would have managed that race. Ask kind of what if you had taken control behind the pit wall and played that race out. So a really fun kind of playful way to experiment with a real race. It's sort of it's kind of like a crossover between enjoying the race that you've just enjoyed on TV and playing the game, and having that interaction. moment. So for each race, we pick out a key turning point, moment of controversy, decision moment for a particular team. And we allow players to jump to the middle of the race, so you'll be in lap 34 or what have you, and you'll be tasked with a specific challenge to achieve a points finish or a particular podium finish or something like that by the end of the race with that team.
Pre-order standard edition, you'll get 3 exclusive race scenarios. One of them is called Viva Las Vegas. Now,
these ones go. What if you were in a quite unusual but believable situation? So, Viva Las Vegas. When you mention is Haas are in a really great position late on in the race due to a late safety car, and it's all about can you hang on with Haas at their kind of home country race. So that's a really fun twist that allows people also to get a glimpse of Vegas early doors. Because another thing that's really cool about all these scenarios is you can just jump straight into a race, and just get into that race action with a variety of different teams. You don't have to do a whole long career. But a number of the other scenarios in exclusive scenarios are things like equal performance races.
That's the one that really interests me. That I thought was a really cool idea.
Yeah. So what if all the cars had the same performance levels? How would the drivers kind of navigate different circuits with those restrictions? So it's kind of like, again, it's for F1 fans really get their teeth into these kind of what if situations, and
Those are the main points that I took from the stream. Now keep in mind that the stream is just 1 hour long, which means that a lot of the information is cut out. But again, most of what I cut out is what I see as fluff. But the entire stream was very informative. So if you would like more information, I'd recommend you have a look at it. There's a link in the description to it. Honestly, all of these upgrades would leave me kind of hyped for next year's game. They're still lacking a few things, to be fair, but a lot of these updates are going to be really nice. If the AI delivers even half of what they promised, I think I'll be happy, because again, they are promising a fairly aggressive AI that will bring the fight to you. And looking forward to seeing how that works. They didn't actually mention much about the weather, but it seems like they have updated the system in a potentially good manner. So yeah, looking forward to it. There's a bunch of different changes to race day, particularly the crashing and things like that. It's going to be nice if they, if you spin, you don't go out last. So honestly, if they can deliver on everything they've said in the stream, then they've taken that, what I called a good base, excellent base to work with in 22, and they've actually developed that into an even better one that they can hopefully for 24 give us, engine manufacturing, things like that, a little bit more in that, because they do seem really, really focused on bringing in immersion when they actually add things like, I don't know if I added it to the video, I think I didn't, but they've added things like the safe to touch lights. Basically what this means is that usually an F1 car will be electrified while it's running the track, meaning that you can't touch it without gloves. And there's a light on the top of the car that signifies if you can touch it without gloves or not, or if you'll get shocked. And they've actually added that for pit stops. So all in all, I'm very positive, but then again, I do like to think the best of any situation. So yeah, I like all these changes. It's looking like they're actually putting in some hard work. Again, some of you would probably like bigger things. I'd personally really, really like it if we had, random errors. Durability is a step in that direction with inspections, but I guess they just had a problem getting, random errors going during the races themselves. But at the same time, they have done a lot of quality of life changes. There has been a lot of, world building changes. You can now switch teams once, well, not now, in September. You now have dilemmas, which will, of course, cause you, grief, problems, but generally be a good thing to add, in my opinion. So yeah, I am definitely looking forward to this. Anything else? Not really. Again, you really should watch the stream. I cut out a lot to make this summary, and even then, this summary is a third of the stream. This stream was just an hour long, so if you find everything here interesting, you can have a look at that. In the description too, there is a full list of footnotes that I made while making this summary. You can also find it on Reddit. So to anyone that's watched this, thank you very much for watching. Please do like, subscribe, as that does help me out a ton. And I hope to see you around next time. Bye-bye.